The Rift Storm has been raging for thousands of years. We've been able to survive in the eye of the storm where it's calmer, but the eye is starting to widen, and now we can explore farther than we ever have before. There's fame and fortune to those who are brave enough to test the might of the Rift in Storm Raiders, which was designed by Shem Phillips and published by Arcus Games, who helped sponsor this video. Hi everybody, my name is Nick Murphy of the Brothers Murph, and we are here with Board Game Geek. Well, I've got my vehicles all gassed up and ready to roll, so let's get this game down to the table to go a little more in focus on Storm Raiders.
In Storm Raiders, players take on the role of, well, Storm Raiders who are braving the Rift Storm in search of resources to fulfill contracts and increase their prestige. Please note that what you see here is a pre-production copy and things are subject to change. Each player will play a specific raider which will have a specific ability. Throughout the game, you are trying to increase your prestige in three main areas: mods, medals, and crew. You will be roaming around the board to the various wreck sites and stormholds, and you're doing this with the use of your three vehicles: your trike, your sub, and your plane. Each player will have different vehicles, and each one has a special ability that is shown on the tile. The game takes place over 6 rounds, and each round each player will take 2 actions. At the start of the round, the start player will roll the dice into the center of the board. Then in turn order players will draft the die and take an action. Note that ones are wild, and you may turn this die to any face. With these dice you may do 2 things. You may place the die in a slot under a vehicle to move your raider across the map, or you may slot it next to your rest area and take a rest turn. The majority of the time you'll be moving. As stated, each player will have 3 vehicles. When you want to move, you will place a die under the vehicle that you want to move with. You will then place the die in the leftmost available space, and the die you place must be of a higher value than all the other dice in that vehicle. So it's maybe not the best choice to start with a 6 value die, as you can't place a die higher than that and you'd be locked out of using that vehicle. Note that if you place a 5 or a 6 on your trike or a 6 onto your plane, that vehicle will take damage. Damage clogs up your dice row and makes it so you can place less dice there. And if you're not able to place a damage die, you will move your health track down 1. This will be bad at the end of the game. Once you place a die in a vehicle, you must move your raider, and you may not return back to the spot you just came from. You may move your raider any distance as long as you can afford it. If moving by your trike or your plane, you will move along these dotted lines, and the cost to move is shown in the pip value next to the line. So if I placed a 5 die, I can go up to 5 worth of movement, so I could go along this 3 route and then this 2 route for a total of 5. Note that if one or more of the routes that you take have the plane icon, you must use your plane and not your trike. Some locations have a port which is shown by the blue die in the submarine. You may use your sub to go from one port to another. You must place a die with a value up to the amount shown on your starting port and your ending port. So if I wanted to go from here to here, I would need to put a 6 value die down. When you reach a wreck site, you may salvage up to 2 of the resources, and as long as you salvage at least 1, you will resolve the effect of the wreck site. If you end up at a stormhold, you may fulfill the contract there, which will require you to turn in these resources. These contracts are worth points shown in the middle and will also gain you the immediate rewards shown on the right. These rewards are often medals. If you don't want to move, you can take a rest action. Your unique raider will have a special action that you may trigger at any point during a rest action. The die that you draft will go here onto your board, and then you may refresh 1 crew card. We'll talk about them in a bit. You may then remove 1 damage die for every 2 pips on the die you slotted, and then you will remove all dice on your board of equal or greater value of the die you drafted, and then you can either gain 1 crew card, 1 mod, or 1 medal. Once all players have taken 2 turns, there will be 1 die left over. This determines which direction the storm will move and how far. If the die is black, it will move the amount on the die along this blue line in the direction of the arrow on its base. If the die is gray, the storm will switch directions and move the other direction. As the storm moves, it will drop more resources on the wreck sites that it passes. Then the next round will begin. Before we end, let's quickly talk about the crews and the mods. The crew you will acquire will all have abilities on them, and you may use their ability and then flip them down. Mods cover up these negative spots on your vehicles, which will keep you from getting damaged. At the end of the game, the players will count up their prestige. Throughout the game, you'll be bumping up these 3 dials. This will score the listed number of points for every mod you have, for every medal you have, and for every crew you have at the end of the game. You will gain points for your completed contracts and for every 2 remaining resources. You will then lose points for every damage die you have multiplied by the negative number on your health bar. And at the end of the game, the player with the most prestige will win.
Storm Raiders is all about moving efficiently and trying to decide what you want to focus on. You will score points for your mods, your crew, and your medals, so do you try to do them all, or do you try to hit 1 or 2 really hard? And moving takes consideration as well, as all the routes require different vehicles and die values. And of course, there's always the storm to be mindful of. And if Storm Raiders seems like a game you'd enjoy, make sure to check it out to learn more. And until next time, I've been Nick Murphy, and we've been going in focus on Storm Raiders. Have a great day.